Launch to everyone who is joining us live and everyone who will be watching later on. We are excited to finally be here working on the new, after working on the new Elemental Selenium newsletter and website for the last 6 months. So, if you are unfamiliar with the fellowship program and the fellows, today you'll be hearing from 4 out of the 5 fellows that were selected by Sauce Labs to participate in a 6-month fellowship program to learn and participate in the full life cycle of an open source project. Most of us, I believe all of us, for the first time. We all came in without any formal experience in the tech industry, and we learned so much about working on a team, working asynchronously, working remotely from various timelines around the world, various time zones around the world. And it was a great learning experience for everybody all around. So to start off, I actually wanted to give each of the fellows that are present today a chance to briefly introduce themselves. And so I'll start off. My name is Janica Blackwell. I came to the fellowship program after completing 2 software development boot camps over 3 years. And I actually quickly learned during this process that I'm much more passionate about the community aspect of tech rather than a lot of the technical aspects. So I've been more focused on that. Could change in the future, who knows? But that's where I'm coming from. I wanted to pass it over to Django.
Thanks, Janica. Yeah, as you mentioned, we all came here in December and have had a really incredible time taking this project from the barest beginnings and really from nothing and building it into something that I think is going to go over great. I came from a traditional industrial design background several years ago and made my pivot into user experience about 2 years or so before meeting Paloma at All Things Open. And I speak quite often and openly about the importance of design within open source, as both from the design side, where you as an early designer can get a lot of important experience from contributing to open source projects, and then also how open source projects can benefit from having design and how they can prepare themselves for design when they launch into the open. So being able to take this project from its early beginnings into developing a design system that I think is compatible with open source contribution has been phenomenal.
All right, let's pass it over to Esther.
Hello, my name is Esther. I got into this program after doing a couple boot camps. So the pandemic came along, or the panorama, whatever code word you want to use for it. And then my office at that time closed, and I had to really think hard about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I've always loved tech, always loved computers. So I was like, well, let me give that a try. I did a web development boot camp, and then I went from there into a cybersecurity boot camp. That really fired up my love for tech even more. Went on to do a cloud computing boot camp, and I was just like, man, I just love this stuff, and I just wanted to learn everything I could. Heard about this program at a DEI conference, virtual conference that I went to, and Paloma, I think, was the one who reached out and was like, "Yeah, apply, apply." And at first I was skeptical. I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think I would be accepted because of my, limited tech professional background. But then I got that call from Paloma that I was in, and it's all been uphill from there of just increasing my skill set, my toolbox. It's just been really great. It's been really difficult, but also a great learning experience.
Awesome. And finally, we will hear from Regine.
Hi, my name is Regine. I've been doing the development here on the Elemental Selenium project. My background is with an IT degree from UCF and BS, and my insight into the project has been really just trying to make a web application that has the envision from our users while also bringing the design that is more modern for today's aspect, as well as listening to the users of Elemental Selenium in the past.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So for today's launch party, we will start with Django talking about the design process of the project. Next, we will hear from Regine about the development process of the project. Then Esther will share about how to contribute to the project. And then we will end with any questions and final thoughts. So without further ado, here is Django talking about the design process.
Great. Thank you so much, Janica. Allow me just to share my screen right there. It should be all set. Perfect. So when we started this project, we were brought on to help take this tip site, which you can see right here, the Elemental Selenium tip site, as published by Dave Hafner for multiple years and maintained by him. Once it was purchased by Sauce Labs, fell somewhat into disrepair, might not be the right word, but it wasn't maintained and it wasn't kept up with because Sauce Labs had bigger and better dreams for it. And that's why they brought us onto it. They wanted to take this site as it stands here and the mailing list that is served by this website and build it into a community that supports and maintains a broader testing network. Because this site doesn't necessarily serve any real community. I can take you through it very briefly. The overall user flow of the site was that users would come to this site after either taking a seminar with Dave Hafner, author of a series of books on Selenium and the testing framework, and then they would be able to subscribe to an email mailing list concerning a series of different tips where they would get a tip every Tuesday in their inbox about Selenium. So, for example, tip number 18, what to figure out how to test. Tips written fairly comprehensively. It's got a series of information, and it comes in your inbox. We had bigger and better dreams for this because in the absence of Dave, there were no more tips being written, and the last tip was written sometime around 2019. And the thing is that there were 20,000 people signed up for this mailing list. So based on that, we sent out a large email survey. We drafted research questions and reached out to the community of people who, again, have not had a new tip since 2019. They haven't really heard from us. They haven't been notified. They've just been getting the same one of 72 tips just sent to their inbox every single week and rarely opening them. What we found was a community that was still remarkably alive. Within 45 minutes of sending out our initial survey, we had received over 100 responses and had to close it again. And the responses were really important. We discovered that from a lot of people's perspectives, a community site for the testing community was really, really integral. And they didn't necessarily feel comfortable contributing their questions or responses to existing websites. And they wanted a site that felt both professional and also compassionate and welcoming. The community lives. And so from that, we've iterated, developed new content and edited the content that currently exists to match, more updated understanding. And we're really happy to present to you today the launch alpha of the new Elemental Selenium tip site. As you come here, you're greeted with new and friendly copy, new and friendly web design, and new and friendly navigation. Taking you through each tip, you now have the option to change the code from tip to tip or within the tip so that you can now easily customize it to your own personal preference and whatever you're using in the stack at the time. The copy has been edited and updated to match more modern sensibilities, and it facilitates a growth space. And Esther and Janica will also talk more about that. But this facilitates the submission of new tips and new community members. We're open sourcing this for the very first time, and we want to make it as easy as possible for the community to start to contribute their own tips and their own tricks. One of the members that we interviewed who marked that he would be interested in submitting talked a lot about making dozens of mistakes when he was first getting started with Selenium, and he said that if he could avoid falling flat on his face, he would have. And if he could have read anything that would have prevented him from making those mistakes, he would have avoided those mistakes. But he couldn't find that information anywhere online, and so now was extremely motivated to help out people who were just getting started in this community and help them avoid mistakes that he made. So he's already writing up things for us to publish. Now, I'd like to pass this over a little bit more to Regine to discuss the open source architecture and take us through a little bit more of the existing website.
I'm just going to go over the open source architecture and why we've decided to make it open source and how we've decided to make it more open source friendly. As you can see, we have these cards that reads every doc that's been uploaded from each contributor. This is read from the docs that will hold all the contributions and will be read by a script and to populate each card that will be displayed on the tips page. After clicking, it will show each doc in an empty file. And as far as the contribution, oh, am I displaying? I don't think I'm sharing. Oh, I'm not sharing. This is great. Sorry about that. Oh, it only does Windows. Okay. Okay, so these are the docs that are going to be holding contributions. And each doc will be displayed on the Elemental Selenium site. And these are the cards that I was referring to before, which will hold limited metadata from each file so that it can be displayed on the site. And this is where we're going to find each file. We chose to do this type of architecture so it's quick to have each contribution quickly up and ready up on the site. And these are the ways to get involved. And I will hand it off. Oh, sorry.
I think now we're going to hand it over to Esther to talk about how to contribute.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, sorry. think I clicked something wrong. Do that again. Okay. All right. So when it comes to contributing, we do have in our main README an explanation of the project, and then there's a table of contents. The first line there is how to contribute. Just a brief little introduction. For full details on how to contribute, you want to click the link here that will take you to our contributing main contributing document. On here, it shows how you could either add a new tip, report a bug, suggest a feature, or contribute code. If you do want to report a bug, we do have templates for creating new issues. You just want to make sure that you visit our issue section to make sure there's not an issue already for what you think is an issue you want to create. After that, you can create a new issue by going to our templates here. There's one for bug reporting, if you have issue with documentation or a new feature request or a security vulnerability. If you want to report a bug, you just click Get Started here. That will take you to the template. And it's pretty easy because the templates are provided there for you. So you can just go through and then just answer the questions and fill that out. And then you would just create your new issue. For adding a new tip, again, in that contributing document there, you would see a link to our tip template. You just click that. There's an intro here, explains the tip template, and then you just go through. You just want to make sure you look through this before you actually submit a tip. That's important. It shows you our folder and file structure right here, shows you the tree. And then we do use Markdown language for all the tips. So you want to make sure that you go through kind of like this little primer on Markdown. So there's a link here for that. And this is the content template. That's what you're going to use to submit your tip. So there's like the metadata section of the template there. And then you have each of your sections. So the page title, you want to make sure you put that. Then you have like your intros, etc., solution, examples to support your solution. Then there's expected behavior, which is pretty important because you want to make sure that the person is aware of what to expect. So like what the browser is going to do for Selenium. So you want to make sure you put that so they can kind of like double check and troubleshoot, make sure that what they did matches the expected behavior. And then there's a summary and then about the author. So if you're submitting a tip, just want to write a little blurb about yourself, just a little bio. And there's the Markdown primer there. After that, oh yeah. So if you are going to actually submit the new tip, you want to make sure that you go into the folder. It's Elemental Next, Front End, and then Docs. So all of our tips are located in the Docs folder here. You can see them here. They each have their own folder. Within each folder, you're going to see a Markdown file for each language. So far we have 5 languages that we have, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, Java, and C#. Whatever language you're writing it in, you just want to make sure you name your file that. And then, of course, refer back to the contributing document for the full structure of the directory and file, how to upload it. And when you have your tip, after you do, so you're going to, in Docs, you're going to just like add a new file, name it, and then you have your Markdown here. You're just going to add all that. Then you're going to submit it, submit your pull request. Once you have that, you can see like how it would look like in kind of like the rich text or whatever. And then you'll see it on the site. So if you like the newest tip we have would be open a new window. It's tip 73. You just click that and there it is right on the new Elemental Selenium site. And that is how you can contribute. And you can also contribute with testing as well. And we do have our little testing section in our README here. Explains a little bit about that. And then we have our testing folder inside of the front end here. And then within each folder, there's like a little separate README. Oh, Where'd it go? Oh. Sorry, I'm having navigation issues, but it's there. And that's how you contribute. And I'll pass it back to Janica.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Esther, about how to contribute to the project. Next, we will hear from Django telling us about the roadmap ahead.
Thanks so much, Janica. I think I mentioned early on that this is an alpha version of this site. This is the first version that's launching, and you know what? This is entirely functional. Everything that you're looking for here and everything that we've wanted to make sure that you have access to on this website, in our GitHub community, and anywhere else that this site touches is functional, but it's incomplete. And that makes perfect sense. It's an open source project. It's an early open source project, and we need contribution. I mean, that's why we've decided to go into open source, and we've decided to leverage that 20,000 person mailing list to grow and develop a active community to help maintain this. And so because of that, I'm going to take you guys through a little bit of what we have in terms of dreams for the future. And since I am a designer, I think that's where we're going to be focusing most for the most part. So we've been doing a lot here. Developing everything from components to explorations to developing new cards and new ways that we want the website to look. And the majority of these aren't far off from what we currently have. You know, we have slight changes to text size, spacing, card size, images, and everything else. And this is where we're going. This is where we're headed. And to that end, we've been developing a design system with fully fleshed out cards that you can interact with, work through, and see exactly how each of our components are designed to interact and prototype together. They're written up with a bunch of copy in terms of service as to how exactly to use them, how to implement them in for the Figma for prototyping, and then how to bring them into our final site. And to that end, you know, we have a fully clickable mock-up to nose through with, you know, markdowns on exactly how we want them to look and exactly where we want them to sit in the future. How are we prioritizing everything here? With the GitHub, of course. We are taking people through as soon as this opens fully, and I'm going to close that back out again. But as soon as that opens fully, you'll be able to get in, take a look at the process so far, and take a look at the tickets that are still to be done, and help out. That's the most important part that we've wanted to stress for everything here, is that this is a community for you, by you, developed in part by us. This fellowship ends on May 31st, and I know that the majority of us will continue to be contributing as community members, but we won't necessarily be contributing as members of the SOS Fellowship anymore. And so it's going to shift. And to that end, we need your support and we need your help to contribute. There's going to be on the GitHub when it launches a how to contribute file, much in the way that Esther just showed off. And there's also going to be a how to contribute design file. That's for people like me, for people, if you're watching this and you're a designer, people like you who want to contribute to design in their spare time. And we're going to make that as seamless and as easy as possible for you in the future. Thank you. And I have one more thing. Oh, yes. We also are organizing ourselves through Slack as well. So we have a link to that as well. Janica, would you like me to grab that for you, or do you have that already? The existing Selenium Slack will also now be put up in support for Elemental Selenium as well.
I do not have the Slack, but if you post it, then Paloma can broadcast that out. All right. So right now we wanted to open it up to see if there were perhaps any questions from anybody that may be watching live. If you had any questions that you wanted to ask us, or if anybody in our backstage audience has any final thoughts that they wanted to add. And if we do not have any questions right now, you can always post them at a later date. Definitely post them in the Slack, and we will get those questions answered as quickly as we can. I think Esther had something that she wanted to add, so we will hand it over to Esther.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that open sourcing this project, I think, is one of the biggest, most amazing things about it, because now it's in the hands of everybody and anybody. So anybody can contribute. All those people who were struggling with Selenium, who, were like, I want to be able to help other people streamline, their testing, because, I was stuck on this issue for like a week, and then I figured it out, and it really, if I had known what to do, it would have taken like half a day only. It's like, now I can present, this solution to other people. And so I think that's one of the greatest things. And not only just when it comes to the Selenium tips, but like for the site itself, if you're like browsing the site and you're like, I think that this site would be really great if it had this other extra feature, you can make it, you can submit it. I think that's just really great. The thing that I love about this project, anybody can add themselves to this project at any time and do anything. So just, really creating like that really big community around Elemental Selenium for anybody to just contribute is great. I love that. I love open source so much. And that's all I got to say.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I think that we just wanted to end out with special thanks to all of our amazing and wonderful mentors that we had in this fellowship program, including our amazing Paloma, who has just been such a superstar and on top of everything throughout this past 6 months. Thank you, Jason, Maria, James, Clara, B, Rachel, Dan, Sar, Dylan, Marcus, and everyone else who joined us and helped us and presented their wisdom to us throughout this program. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you. We'll miss you, and we learned a lot from each and every one of you. So I think that is all that we have today. So we are signing off for this 2022-2023 Sauce Labs Fellowship Program. Thanks, everyone.